What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the book read of the month and to joining me in continue reading The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Greatly appreciate you guys continuing to bear with me and also have a little fun and read some good stuff here with this book. Before we dive in, if this is your first time visiting and seeing me in YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel. Part of my channel is reading a book a month, and I read the book, process the book, kind of unpack it and talk through it as if we were to read together. So if this is, again, the first clip you're seeing, know that this is a piece to the grander whole, which is the playlist of this book read, if you will. And you can find that at my YouTube channel to be able to dive in to either read the book on your own or also read along with me, which is super exciting. And then also, if you do enjoy reading or find that when we read together that you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. Like I said, we will read a book a month, and the catalogs of books will continue to grow. I cover many different topics and desires, so we kind of just go with the flow as things come up. And so if you're interested in that, would love to have you tag along. So into today's chapter, we have covered in the last two strategies the art of acceptance, and then after that the anticipation, and how that kind of all corresponds in the will section of the book. And so today will be this video rather will be the fifth strategy within the will portion, and today's kind of strategy that we'll cover is called love everything that happens. So to do great things, we need to be able to endure tragedy and setbacks. We've got to love what we do and all it entails, good and bad. We have to learn to find joy in every single thing that happens. So essentially what this chapter is about is understanding, first off, that obstacles will happen in our life no matter if we like it or not. We're anticipating them, so we have a couple different plans on how we're going to approach things when things go wrong. And then this piece is that no matter if it's good or bad, the attitude that we can possess along the journey can be and is most beneficial for it to be a positive one. The reason for that is because, again, things will happen and we have to accept them, but we can control the attitude that we have as we work through these obstacles. Let me go here. Yes, so the next step after we discard our expectations and accept what happens to us after understanding that certain things, particularly bad things, are outside of our control, is to love whatever happens to us and face it with unfailing cheerfulness. It is the act of turning what we must do into what we get to do, and that's a huge mindset. My apologies, my notes were a little off. So it is a little unnatural, obviously, because to feel gratitude for things that we never wanted to have happen in the first place. But we know at this point that opportunities and benefits that lie within adversities, we know that in overcoming them, we emerge stronger, sharper, and empowered. But there is always some good, even if only barely perceptible at first, contained within the bad, and we can find it and be cheerful because of it. So this will take practice for sure, but I think the outcome of it is what you can use as fuel to continue on your journey. So again, this might be a little redundant, but just to kind of speak on this a little bit. So number one is to accept what has happened after we had planned for everything and the event goes through to fruition. But this contradiction of loving whatever happens no matter what is so good, because if we do the opposite of that and hate, we'll become very cynical and life will really try to put weight on top of us, and that will just add a lot of worse pieces to the pie that we don't want. Whereas thinking that there is good allows us to open mind to what is the lesson we can extract, but also a chance to kind of restart and reframe ourselves in that essence. Because when good things happen to us, it's easy to be positive, right? That's the outcome we're looking for. But if you can also channel good and bad events into the same category, now the strides that you're making time after time are much more positive, because everything will be good in some essence. The last thing I will say on this is kind of a testimony to all that we're talking about, and it has to pertain to Mr. Thomas Edison. So essentially, what had happened was they built this laboratory, and it was basically indestructible. They had put all the precursors in to make sure that nothing would affect it. However, there was a huge fire, and someone alarmed him to run out there and check it out. And obviously, with Edison being a famous figure at this point, he was 77, everyone there thought he would be extremely distraught, right? Because all of his life workings, all of his records, all that stuff is destroyed. And yet he came and he basically shrugged it off. And he was like, go get my family. They'll never see a fire like this, in a positive way, which seems extremely contradictory. However, to what we've talked about, this finding good allowed him to basically say, you know what? I'm not going to be heartbroken because of this shit. I'm going to get invigorated by it. And that cleansing of that laboratory made him go back to the drawing board. But in addition to that, the compounding effect was he was able to 10x his laboratory, because he kind of had to start from fresh. So despite a loss of about $1 million, which was more like 23 million in today's dollars, Edison would marshal enough energy to make nearly $10 million in revenue that year, 200 plus million today. And so he was able to do that only because that happened. So sometimes the best thing that we can do is to find good in the situation, because it can allow us to go back to the drawing board and get more improved. And a little side note for myself, I think this is really, really important, because we don't want to do this, and that's like the underlying theme, right? We don't want to have these bad things happen, but yet they cause us to kind of sit and reflect and really see, okay, what was been good, what was bad, how do we construct something better because of all this? And it's this continuous process of doing this that allow great works to come through to fruition, in my personal opinion. So hopefully you enjoyed reading the fifth strategy, which is love what happens. We are going to keep reading, and if you have been reading along, just know that we are towards the end of the first book of the book of the month, and within that is the obstacle is the way. So been very exciting, but until next time, guys, let's keep reading.